To support Nottingham Rugby. We look after their IT infrastructure and make sure they're up and running for every game. So we love to keep supporting Nottingham Rugby.
Great to have you here today, and thanks for coming down to Bear IT for this interview. Obviously last week was the first game of the season. What are your thoughts on last week's results?
I think it was a tough first up for the game for us, and we didn't start particularly well, and I think some of the composure let us down, and we were a bit surprised at some of the errors we made. Certainly things that we'd trained hard on, we didn't cope with particularly well. So perhaps there was a bit of anxiety from some of the guys about the first game of the season, but that certainly won't be the case this weekend. So we're hoping that we've learned a lot of the lessons from last week and we can put them back into play. But I suppose the overarching point last week was London Welsh did score 4 tries. Admittedly, they had a huge amount of possession, but we were actually leading that game by 6 points. And we have to learn to grow as a group that we can manage those games down and actually continue to perform and actually win those games when it's that sort of an opportunity.
Cool. So, I mean, bearing in mind last week's game, were there any players that you felt really stood out?
I think in terms of the performances, there were some guys played really well, a lot of heart and a lot of work rate, and Alex Shaw worked really hard at 8. I thought James Arledge was obviously outstanding. His goal kicking was first class, and showed why we brought him to the club. So it was a quieter afternoon for some of the more excitable players, and we're looking to see Caesar perhaps do a bit more this week and get a few more opportunities. But he's still building his way through to playing in this league, so it's a new transition for him, and the language transition as well. But up front, Tom Youngs always gives you 100%, and Ben Prescott did play well. Obviously, he's moved on, but he had a good game also.
Cool. Obviously this weekend it's over to Birmingham and Solihull. You got some great results against them last year. They're at a new ground this season. How do you fancy your chances?
You've always got to be confident. I think the difficulty is it's an away game. It's early in the season. Birmingham played Worcester away last weekend and were beaten fairly comfortably by Worcester, which is going to be the form horse this year anyway. But I think it's an opportunity for us to actually play a bit more and do a bit more on controlling the phase position on attack. And there's a number of things. There's the known knowns and the known unknowns of the game, and we do know that Birmingham are going to be tough. They're going to be energetic, exuberant, and they will play from anywhere. And they're a side that are coached by a very good sevens coach, and they play quite a sort of an open style. So we're going to have to be very wary that if we give any possession away in our third, then we are likely to be punished. So we have to go and control the game.
Good stuff. So looking at the rest of the table, there was some interesting results in the first week. Bristol losing to Rotherham, for example, some surprising results, some might say. Do you think this year is going to be particularly competitive?
Oh, massively. I think there are sides like Rotherham with a new coach and a new mantra are going to play well, and we'll expect them to be performing hard, and they've got a tough home game against Bedford this week. So there will be some surprises in the league. There will be some big scores, but my view is I think it's a better competition this year than perhaps last year, and that should be expected. That every year it should move forward, but certainly with Bristol and Worcester in the league this year, it's got to be good for the competition. The Bedfords, London Welsh, I think are going to be a side who should be in the hunt. They've obviously recruited very well, and they've got a very big squad. So they should be there or thereabouts. And we saw enough of them last week to know that they're going to be a good side. So we want to make sure that we're in that group, competing with those sides, which is where we've been for some time. But we do know there's a lot of hard work to make sure that happens.
Okay. So Glenn, we've made a new signing this week. I wonder if you can give us a bit of information on him.
Yes, Sione Kalamafone is a Tongan international, and has captained Tonga recently in the Pacific Nations Cup, and he's a back rower, back 5 forward if need be, but certainly a fairly powerful ball carrier and a very good prospect. He's only 22, which is quite remarkable. He's a seasoned performer at a high level, so we're looking forward to him getting over here and sort of showing what he can do. And it's a good opportunity for him, I think, to get into the UK and show people over this side of the world what he's about as well. So he's arriving over the weekend, and we'll get him into some training next week and hopefully build him forward towards the game against Plymouth.
Good stuff. Cool. Okay. I wonder if you could talk us through the team you've selected for this weekend's game and possibly explain a few of the choices that you've made.
Sure. Okay, and starting from the front, Neil Fowkes continues at loosehead, Tom Youngs continues at hooker, tight head replacing Ben Prescott's Tom French, who's on loan to us from Wasps. Frenchie's played for us last season, so he's not a new face. He came in and replaced Petrus at the back end of last season and did very well. He was with us last week on the bench, but obviously moves up to start. Second row will be Sam Raven and Ian Kench again. They'll continue on where they left off last week. Back row, Hammond, Tom Arms at 7 again, and Alex Shaw at 8. Tim Usaz and James Arledge will carry on at 9 and 10. Looking to see if those guys can sort of put a bit more control in the game this week as a unit. Ben Johnson back in the midfield this week is a big plus for us. Having John O'Fit's always good, so he'll start at 12. Moving Andrew Forsyth out to 13, which is his more favoured natural position, and we're looking at Andrew to get into some spaces and cause some problem on attack, and rather than playing the tighter match he had to play last week. Jacko and Randy Savage will be on the wings again. Both played, I think, fairly well last week, and we just want to get them a bit more ball, and Caesar will continue at the back. On the bench, new prop in, Ricky Davies has come in from France. He's been in Bordeaux. He's come in for us to have a look at in terms of looking at replacing Ben Prescott. So Ricky's on the bench, Declan Farrell on the bench to cover hooker, Rob Conquest covering the middle row, and Johnny Beard doing the back row. And then in the backs, Finley Barnum in at 9. Jack Cobden will be covering it at the sort of the outside and centres, and Dave Marshall will probably cover the 10 slot. So pretty good unit. We're starting to get a couple of guys back from fitness. Jono being back is a big boost. Tim Strether not far away. Luke Sheriff not far away. Phil Eagleshaw not far away. So hopefully a few of these guys are going to be popping up and being available for selection.